Good evening, my little creatures of the night. Mr. Wendigo back again, and boy, have I got a tale that'll make you cover your ears tonight. The San Juan Mountains, Wolf Creek Pass, Colorado, Lower Rockies country where the snow presses down for weeks and the silence gets so heavy it makes your ears ring. Beautiful place when the sun's out. The kind of spot people dream about moving to, but they don't see it in winter. They don't see what the cold brings out. Henry Blackwood, 26 years old, 6 months into his ranger badge, fresh out of the army, married 6 months to a woman named Martha May who's waiting for him in Durango. He promised her the ranger job would be safer than war. No more jungles, no more bullets, just trees and tourists. 2 hunters go missing, brothers, local boys who know the mountains. When their family shows up at the station, they whisper about something they won't say too loud. The pipe elk. Antlers with holes in them. Henry laughs it off, takes his rifle and his pack and heads into the back country to find them. He thinks the woods are quiet. He thinks quiet means safe. He's about to learn otherwise. This is your late night creature feature. Before we begin, where are you listening from tonight? Drop a comment. I like knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now then, let's talk about what whistles in the high country. Hollow Antlers. Name's Henry Blackwood, 73 years old now. Been a ranger since 75. Before that, the army, another place, another time, with stories that still wake me at 3 in the morning. Before that, just a boy from a hollow near the Cumberland Gap in Virginia. Place so small it doesn't show up on most maps. I thought I'd spend my ranger years quiet, walking tree lines, keeping tourists from drowning in rivers or falling off cliffs. Simple work, the kind that lets you sleep at night. But the land doesn't stay quiet. Not here, not in the places I've worked. The wild has its own rules, its own hunger, and I've seen what it leaves behind when it's done feeding. So I write, not for the service, not for the public, for me, because if I don't, I'll carry their screams until I'm in the ground. These are my journal entries. This was the winter I learned silence can whistle. I was new to the badge then, 6 months in. Still green, though I'd never have admitted it. The army taught me to stand tall, keep my voice steady, act like I knew what the hell I was doing even when I didn't. But ranger work was different. No enemy you could see, no rules of engagement. Just you and the trees and whatever lived between them. Wolf Creek Pass, San Juan National Forest, Lower Rockies, Colorado side. Beautiful country when the sun's out, the kind of place people drive through and think about quitting their city jobs. They don't see it in winter, don't see what the cold does, how the snow presses down on everything, how the silence gets so heavy you start hearing things that aren't there. February of 75, the snow had been falling for 3 weeks straight. The world was white and gray, nothing else. The sky was a solid ceiling. The trees stood like black bars hammered into the earth, and the quiet Christ, the quiet made your ears ring. I'd been thinking about Martha May a lot that week. We'd gotten married 6 months before I took the ranger job. She was from Durango, worked at the library, had a smile that made you forget winter existed. I carried her photo in my breast pocket, right over my heart, black and white shot, her on the porch of her parents' house, hands on her hips, laughing at something I'd said. I touched that photo maybe 20 times a day, more when I was nervous. She'd wanted me to take a job in town, hardware store, maybe, something where I'd come home every night. We could sit on the couch and she could tell me about the books people checked out. Simple. Safe. But I told her the ranger job would be safe too. Safer than the army. No more jungles, I'd said. No more bullets. Just trees and tourists and maybe a bear or two. Easy work, Martha. I promise. She touched my face when I said that. Her hand was warm. You better come home to me, Henry Blackwood, she'd said. every single time. I kissed her palm every single time. I thought about that promise a lot during that winter, wondered if I'd lied, wondered if the woods were really safer than war. The call came through on a Tuesday, February 18th. 2 hunters hadn't returned, brothers, Marcus and David Hewitt, local boys, raised in the mountains, men who knew the ridges better than the roads in town. They'd gone after elk. Planned for 3 days. It had been 6. Their father showed up at the ranger station with their sister, both of them pale, both of them carrying the kind of fear you don't see often. Not fear of cold, not fear of hunger, something deeper. The kind you inherit. Sheriff Drummond was there, standing by the wood stove, chewing on his mustache, acting like it was routine, but I caught the whispers, the way the father kept looking at the mountains through the window, the way the sister wouldn't look at them at all. The pipe elk, the father said finally, quiet, like saying it too loud might call it. I asked what he meant. Nobody wanted to answer, just mutters, looks exchanged. Finally, the sister spoke up. "It's too big to be real," she said. "Antlers with holes in them make sounds that aren't right. The whistling." I laughed. Not mean. Just the way you laugh when locals toss folklore at you on your first winter. The way you laugh when you're young and think you know things. Nobody laughed back. The father leaned forward. "My boys know these mountains," he said. "They wouldn't get lost. They wouldn't stay out this long unless something was wrong, unless something was keeping them." Sheriff Drummond cleared his throat. "We'll send Ranger Blackwood out to look," he said. "I'm sure they're fine. Probably got pinned down by the weather. Happens all the time." But his voice didn't match his words. It had an edge. As the family was leaving, an old man came in. Ute, maybe 70, maybe older, hard to tell. His face was carved deep with lines. Hair white as the snow outside, braided down his back with red cord. Name was Thomas Ravenclaw. I'd seen him around town a few times. He didn't talk much. Didn't need to. People listened when he did. He looked at me, then at the sheriff, then back at me. "You're the one going out?" he asked. "Yes, sir," I said. He studied me for a long moment. The stove popped. The wind rattled the windows. "The Ute understands something about the high country in winter," he said. His voice was quiet, but it filled the room. "There are things that live in the cold, things that were here before us. The pipe elk is one of them." The sheriff shifted his weight. "Thomas, we appreciate the concern, but—" "It doesn't chase," Thomas said. "Cut him off." His eyes stayed on me. "That's the important part. It doesn't chase. It calls. You'll hear it. A whistle. And you'll want to walk toward it. You'll want to walk right into its arms." The hair on my neck stood up. "How do you fight it?" I asked. "You don't fight it," Thomas said. "You survive it. Keep talking. Out loud. Your voice is the only rope you have back to the world. The sound wants to replace your thoughts. Don't let it. And if you see it," he paused, "don't look too long. Don't try to understand it. Just get away." The sheriff laughed, uncomfortable. "Thomas, you're going to scare the man." Thomas didn't smile. "Good," he said. He looked at me one more time, nodded, then left. The sheriff clapped me on the shoulder after the door closed. "Don't listen to him," he said. "Old superstitions. The Hewitts probably just got turned around. You'll find them holed up somewhere, cold and embarrassed." I nodded, wrote in my logbook that night. 2 overdue hunters. Possible hypothermia. Search commencing February 19th. But I didn't write what I was thinking. Didn't write that when Thomas Ravenclaw looked at me, I'd seen something in his eyes that made my stomach turn. Pity. I started before dawn the next morning. Loaded my pack with everything I'd need for a week. Snowshoes, rifle, lantern and spare kerosene, rations, rope, matches and a waterproof tin. First aid kit, compass, Maps. My army training came back in ritual. Check every strap, check every latch, check every bullet, make sure nothing fails when you need it. The difference was, in the army I'd had brothers to my left and right. Out here, it was just me. I touched Martha May's photo before I left, kissed it. Stupid, maybe, but it made me feel like I'd come back. The snow squeaked under my boots as I pushed into the backcountry. My breath froze in my beard. Each exhale curled up and vanished into the gray air. The trees stood silent. Tall black pillars driven into white earth. No birdsong, no wind, just my breathing and the crunch of my snowshoes and the blood in my ears. I found the brothers' truck where the family said it would be, parked at the trailhead, buried in snow up to the wheel wells. I cleared the windshield. Nothing inside but empty coffee thermoses and a map with their route marked in pencil. They planned to head northeast into the high timber. 3 days out, 3 days back. Simple. I followed their trail. The tracks were old. 4 days, maybe 5. The snow had drifted over them, softened the edges, but I could still make out 2 sets of boots walking side by side. The stride was confident. They knew where they were going. Men who'd walked these mountains their whole lives. What struck me wasn't the prints I found. It was the ones I didn't. No rabbits, no fox tracks, no grouse bursting from under the spruce. The forest felt emptied, hollowed out, like something had come through and eaten all the sound. I caught myself humming, some old hymn my mother used to sing when the power went out in our Virginia hollow. I wasn't even thinking about it, just filling the silence with something human. That's when I knew the quiet was getting to me. Around midday I stopped to rest, ate some jerky, drank from my canteen. The water was so cold it made my teeth ache. I was reaching for my map when I saw the marks. Carved into the bark of a pine, 6 feet up, maybe higher, long grooves, deep. The wood was pale where it had been scored, too high for elk, too jagged for an axe. And snagged in the bark was a tuft of hair, coarse, black, wrong. I pulled it free, rolled it between my gloved fingers. It didn't feel like elk, didn't feel like deer or bear. It felt brittle, old, like it had been dead a long time before it fell out. Bear, I said out loud. My voice sounded small. Winter-starved bear. But my gut twisted. Bears didn't mark trees 6 feet up. Bears didn't move this quiet. I pressed on. By late afternoon, I reached their camp. It sat near a frozen creek, snow banked against the collapsed canvas of their tents. The camp looked like they'd left mid-meal, bedrolls still unrolled, a kettle perched above dead coals. Water frozen solid inside, food wrapped in canvas, untouched by animals, lantern shattered, glass glittering on the ice. No blood, no struggle, no bodies. Just absence. It was as if Marcus and David had been sitting there warming their hands, drinking coffee, talking about the elk they'd seen, and then they'd stood up and walked into the trees, together, without taking anything, without even putting out the fire. I searched the perimeter, found their rifles leaning against a tree, loaded, safeties on. They hadn't even taken their guns. That's when I heard it. A whistle, low, thin, reedy. I froze. The lantern in my hand swayed. My rifle came up. I scanned the tree line. The whistle rose, fell, rose again. Not random, rhythmic. Someone breathing slow through a hollow reed. In, out, in, out. The trees around me were still, not a breath of air moving, but the sound kept coming. The hair on my arms stood up. I turned in a slow circle. Nothing, just trees and snow and the gray light dying, but the whistle was there, constant, patient, coming from everywhere at once. "Hello?" I called out. My voice cracked. The whistle didn't answer, just kept breathing. I backed toward the fire pit, kicked snow off the stones. built a new fire with shaking hands. The flame guttered but finally caught. The smoke rose thin and straight. The whistle circled the camp, slow, deliberate, something pacing just beyond the light. I sat with my back to a tree trunk, rifle across my knees, waited for dawn. The sound never stopped. And just before midnight, when my eyes were heavy and my body was begging for sleep, I heard something that made my blood go cold. The whistle changed pitch, dropped low, then rose into something almost like a word. Henry. My name, stretched out, distorted. I stood up so fast I nearly put my boot in the fire. "Who's there?" I shouted. The whistle answered. "Henry, Henry." I grabbed my pack, kicked snow over the fire, and I ran. I didn't get far, maybe 100 yards before my lungs were screaming and my legs felt like water. The snow was deep, the dark was absolute. I stopped behind a stand of fir, gasping, my breath coming in ragged clouds. The whistle was behind me, then to my left, then ahead. It was playing with me. I forced myself to think. Thomas Ravenclaw's words came back. "Keep talking. Your voice is the only rope back to the world." So I talked. "My name is Henry Blackwood," I said out loud. My voice shook. "I'm from Virginia, Cumberland Gap. My mother's name was Eleanor. My father was Thomas. I had a brother named Jack who died when I was 12. The whistle tried to slide around my words, tried to twist them. "I'm 26 years old," I kept going. "I served in the Army. I married Martha May Cordell 6 months ago. She's waiting for me in Durango. She works at the library. She has brown eyes and she laughs at my stupid jokes, and I promised her I'd come home." The whistle dropped in pitch, frustrated. I kept talking, listed every man I'd served with. Thompson from Roanoke, Keener from Tucson, Walt with the bad tooth and the laugh that sounded like a donkey. I said their names, made them real in the dark. The whistle faded, not gone, just farther away. I made it back to the brothers' camp, rebuilt the fire, sat with my back against a tree until dawn came, gray light filtering through gray clouds. The whistle was still out there, circling, waiting. But I was still me. When there was enough light to see, I started tracking again. The brothers' boot prints left the camp heading northeast, but there were other prints too, ones I'd missed in the dark, hooves, cleft and sharp, too big, too deep. The snow had collapsed down to blue ice where the weight had punched through. Whatever made them was heavy as a truck. The stride was wrong too, 5 feet between falls, 6 feet, then closer together, like it had stumbled, and between the hoof prints, a line dragged through the snow, smooth, continuous. Something being pulled. I followed. The forest pressed in, spruce and fir so thick the branches formed a roof. The light went green and strange. It felt like evening, even though my watch said it was only 10 in the morning. I found the first body a mile in. Not the brothers. Someone older, weeks dead, maybe more, frozen solid, half buried in a drift. A hunter, orange vest still clinging to his torso. The vest was shredded, long tears, the edges clean. But it was the chest that made me stop breathing. 3 holes punched clean through the sternum, perfect circles, each one the diameter of a man's thumb. I could see daylight through them. The flesh around the holes was smooth, not torn, not clawed, bored. The wind picked up, just a breath, and the corpse whistled. The air moved through those holes and made a sound. 3 notes, high, middle, low, a chord. I stepped back so fast I tripped over my own snowshoes. The body kept whistling. The wind kept playing it. I turned and kept walking. My hands were shaking. My stomach was trying to climb out of my throat. But I kept walking because that's what you do. You keep moving or you die. The drag marks deepened as I went. The snow was torn up. Branches snapped, bark scraped off trees at shoulder height. Something big had come through here, something that didn't care about being quiet. I found a glove around noon, wool, the kind you wear under leather choppers when you're going to be out in serious cold. It sat on top of the snow, placed there, deliberate. I picked it up, frozen hard as a board. I pressed the wrist. Something crunched inside. I pulled the glove open. 2 finger bones tumbled out, clean as chalk, white. The wool at the opening was crusted dark brown with old blood. I stood there with those bones in my palm and thought about a man trying to pull his glove off while something dragged him, his fingers coming away inside the wool. I put the bones in my pack. The service would need them. The family would need something to bury. The trail led into darker timber. The trees grew tight as prison bars. The snow took on a gray cast. I found more signs. A boot standing upright in the snow, leather stiff with ice, laces torn away. I didn't look inside. Didn't need to. I could see the dark stain at the top where the cuff met snow. Bark stripped off trees. Long vertical runs. Something had rubbed against them over and over, polishing the wood smooth. The exposed wood was pale as bone. Sap had oozed and frozen in amber curtains. And everywhere, that whistle, low, patient, breathing. The sound was inside my head now. I could feel it behind my eyes, pressing against my skull, trying to get in. I kept talking, said Martha May's name 50 times, 100. Described her face, the small scar on her chin from falling off a horse when she was 9, the way she bit her lower lip when she was thinking, the sound of her laugh. The whistle tried to turn her name into music. I wouldn't let it. I found David Hewitt just after 2 in the afternoon. He was face down in the snow, frozen mid-crawl. His fingers were dug into the ground. He'd been trying to pull himself forward. His back was shredded, not clawed, punctured. 5 holes running down his spine from his neck to his lower back, each hole the size of a silver dollar, deep. I could see white bone at the bottom. The holes whistled when the wind passed through them, 5 different notes. David's face was turned to the side, eyes open, mouth open, frozen in a scream that never ended. His lips were pulled back, teeth showing. The expression was wrong, too wide. The muscles in his face had torn trying to make that scream. He'd been crawling toward camp, trying to get home, but he'd only made it a few 100 yards before his body gave out. Before the cold and the blood loss and whatever the hell had done, this finally stopped him. I knelt beside him, put my hand on his shoulder. The cold came through my glove, bone deep, the kind of cold that doesn't let go. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm so goddamn sorry." The wind picked up, his body sang, a sad broken melody that made my chest hurt. I couldn't carry him out. He was frozen to the ground, locked there, so I marked the spot on my map, broke branches and stacked them so I could find him again, took a glove from his hand for the family. Then I kept moving, because Marcus was still out here somewhere, and if David had died trying to crawl home, maybe Marcus had made it farther. Maybe Marcus was still alive. The land pinched into a ravine, steep walls on both sides. The bottom choked with deadfall and drifted snow. The hoofprints went down into it. The drag marks went with them. I followed. At the bottom, I found the bone clearing. It opened up, maybe 30 yards across. The snow had been packed down by weight and traffic, and everywhere, God, everywhere, were bones. Elk skulls, racks canted so the tines cupped one another, dozens of them, arranged in circles, in spirals, in patterns that hurt to look at, vertebrae stacked in little towers, wobbling cairns of white coins, ribs threaded through saplings, a femur standing upright in the center, stripped clean, planted deep. The human bones were mixed in. A tibia among elk leg bones, human ribs hung high from branches, tied with strips of rawhide frozen into icy ropes, 2 hands cupped together, no arms attached, set beneath an elk's jaw. And in the center, on a stump planed flat, a human skull, polished to a shine, 3 holes bored into the crown, not round, oval, the edges smooth, worn. I bent down, don't know why, curiosity, stupidity, same thing. I blew across one of the holes. The sound that came out wasn't a whistle, it was a hum, low, mournful. And from somewhere in the trees, the whistle answered. Not an echo, an answer. The hair on my neck crawled. I straightened up, turned in a slow circle. The trees were black and still, the bones hung silent, but I could feel it, the weight of something watching. "Come on then," I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "I know you're there." The whistle rose, closer now, moving between the trees. And then it stepped into the clearing. I've seen elk my whole life, seen them at dawn standing on ridgelines, breath steaming, antlers catching the first light, seen them in rut, bulls screaming at each other, hooves tearing up the ground, seen them dead on the side of the road, legs stiff, eyes glassy. I know what elk look like. This was wrong. It stood taller at the shoulder than any elk I'd ever seen, 7 feet, maybe 8. The neck was too long, stretched. The hide hung loose, patchy, gray where the skin showed through. Black where tufts of hair still clung, the ribs showed, every bone visible, a skeleton wrapped in leather. The legs bent wrong, sometimes like an animal's, sometimes almost like a man's, like it couldn't decide. And the antlers, Jesus Christ, the antlers. Not tines, not branches, hollows, tunnels bored through the bone, each fork carved with passages that narrowed and flared, narrowed and flared. The bone was smooth inside, polished. The holes worn by wind and breath and time. It breathed, the air moved through those passages, and the sound that came out was the whistle I'd been hearing for 2 days. The eyes were wet, not human, not animal, wet like an open wound. It lowered its head. The whistle changed, deepened. The bones hanging around the clearing began to vibrate. The ribs sang. The skulls hummed. Everything in that place became an instrument. And I felt the sound go through me. My legs wanted to move forward. My body wanted to walk into those antlers, to step up and let it have me. I could feel the pull, strong, insistent, not magic, just want, pure animal want, that bypassed thinking entirely. "No," I said, out loud, forcing the word. I touched Martha May's photo through my coat, pressed my hand against it. "My name is Henry Blackwood," I said, louder now. "I'm from Virginia. I'm married to Martha May. I promised her I'd come home." The creature took a step. The hoof plunged into the snow. Where it landed, the white turned dark. Not shadow, something else. A hole. "I'm not walking into you," I said. "I'm not." It took another step. I raised my rifle. The barrel shook. The front sight found the place where neck meets shoulder. Kill spot. Clean and fast if you do it right. But my finger wouldn't pull the trigger. Not magic, not fear, just that the gun belonged to the world where things made sense, and I was somewhere else now. The creature's head rose. The whistle climbed. Higher, higher. And then I heard a voice. Not the creature's. Human. Weak. Broken. Help me. "Marcus." I moved sideways, slowly, keeping my eyes on the creature. It didn't turn to follow, just stood there, breathing its music, waiting. I circled the clearing, stepped over bones, under hanging ribs that chimed when my pack brushed them. And there, slumped against a pine on the far side, was Marcus Hewitt. He was still alive. Barely. His chest was caved open, an antler wound the size of a dinner plate. I could see inside him, see his ribs, pink bone showing, see his lung moving, pink and wet and glistening. Every time he breathed, the hole whistled. The sound joined with the creature's whistle, became part of the song. Marcus's eyes found mine, bloodshot, the whites gone yellow, pupils blown wide. He tried to raise his hand, 3 fingers left, the other 2 gone, stumps frozen black. Blood had pooled under him, frozen into a dark mirror. His pants were soaked with it, his coat too. The snow around him was pink, then red, then black where it had frozen in layers. "Please," he whispered. The word whistled out of the hole in his chest, high and thin and wrong. I knelt beside him. My hands moved on instinct, pulled bandages from my pack, but the wound was too big, too deep, and the cold had already taken him. His lips were blue, his skin was gray. The only warm part of him was the blood still leaking slow from the hole. Steam rose from it, tiny ghosts. "I've got you," I said, lying. "You're going to be okay." He shook his head, just a little, he knew. "My brother," he whispered. "Did you find—" "Yes," I said. "I'm sorry." His eyes closed. A tear froze on his cheek. It happened fast. 1 second it was wet, the next it was ice. "It called us," he said. His voice was fading, each word weaker than the last. "We heard it. We couldn't stop walking. We wanted to. God, we wanted to, but our legs just kept moving, like we weren't in control anymore, like something else was walking us." The hole in his chest whistled. The creature behind me answered. "It's using me," Marcus said. "I can feel it. I'm part of it now, part of the song. Every breath I take, it takes 2. Every sound I make, it makes. I'm not me anymore. I'm just another instrument." "No, you're not," I said, gripped his shoulder. "You're Marcus Hewitt. You're going home." But even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. His breath hitched. The whistle climbed. He looked past me, at the creature. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "Can you hear it? Can you hear how beautiful the sound is?" "Marcus, look at me," I said. "Look at me, not at it." But his eyes had gone distant, soft, the kind of look men get when they're dying and they see something the rest of us can't. Peace, maybe, or just the brain shutting down. Hard to tell the difference. His last breath whistled out through the hole in his chest, a long, low note that hung in the air, then stopped. The creature stepped forward, slow, deliberate, its head lowered. The antlers moved toward Marcus's body. I stood up, put myself between them. "No," I said. The creature stopped, those wet eyes fixed on me. We stood there, man and monster, 5 feet apart. The whistle changed, rose, became something almost like a question. I raised my rifle. "No," I said again. It tilted its head. The antlers caught what little light filtered through the trees, and then it charged. It didn't run like an elk. It moved fast, smooth. 1 second it was 5 feet away, the next it was on me. I fired. The crack split the air. The bullet punched through its shoulder. Dark blood sprayed across the snow. The creature staggered, but not like an animal, more like a tree bowing in wind. It righted itself. Kept coming. I fired again. Hit the chest. Ribs splintered. More blood, but it didn't slow. The antlers swept toward me. I dove left. Hit the snow hard. Rolled. Came up with snow in my mouth and terror in my chest. It turned. Fast. The whistle never stopped. I scrambled backward. My boot caught on a root. I went down. The rifle flew from my hands, landed 10 feet away in the snow. The creature lowered its head. The antlers came down. I could see into the hollow passages, see the smooth bone inside, see the dark at the center where the tunnels went deep. I grabbed my lantern, fumbled with the shutter. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. The antlers touched my chest, pressed. The tip of one antler found the space between my ribs, right over my heart, right where Martha May's photo was. The tip pushed, started to go in. I got the lantern open, flared the flame wide. Light washed across its face, bright, hot. The creature recoiled, not from pain, from instinct. Old instinct that lives in bones. Fire means humans, humans mean danger. The antler tip punched through my coat, through my shirt, into my shoulder. I felt it go in, felt the bones scrape, felt it twist, felt my blood start to flow. The pain was white, blinding. Every nerve in my body screamed. I shoved the lantern into its face. The flame caught the hair around its muzzle. The creature jerked back. The whistle turned into something else. A shriek, high and terrible. It shook its head. The antlers thrashed, broke branches, splintered a sapling. The antler tip tore out of my shoulder, ripped through muscle, tore skin. Blood poured hot down my arm, then cold, then freezing. I rolled away, grabbed my rifle. My shoulder screamed. Blood was running into my glove, hot and slick. I couldn't feel my fingers. The creature backed up, still shrieking. The hair on its face was smoking. The smell was like burning meat and wet dog and something old and rotten and wrong. I raised the rifle one-handed, aimed at its head, fired. The bullet hit an antler. Bone exploded. Fragments sprayed. One of the hollow passages shattered. The whistle hitched, warbled, then doubled, louder, angrier. The creature turned and ran. Not away, around. It circled the clearing, fast. The whistle became a scream. A dozen whistles, 100, like a whole herd running, though I knew there was only one. I grabbed the lantern, held it high. The light pushed back the shadows, but they kept trying to creep in. The creature circled once, twice, 3 times. Then it stopped at the far edge of the clearing, just beyond the light. Those wet eyes gleamed. We stared at each other. My shoulder throbbed. I could feel blood soaking into my shirt, freezing there. My arm was going numb. Frostbite was setting in. I had maybe an hour before I couldn't use it at all. "Come on," I said. My voice shook. "Come on, then." The creature didn't move. The whistle dropped to a low hum, patient, waiting. And I understood. It didn't need to chase me. It never needed to chase. I'd bleed out in an hour, maybe 2, and when I was weak, when I couldn't hold the lantern anymore, when the cold finally took me, I'd walk into those antlers on my own. "Fuck you," I said. I turned and ran. I don't remember much of the next few hours. Pain does that, makes time slippery, turns everything into flashes. I remember the trees blurring past. I remember falling, getting up, falling again. I remember the whistle following me. Never close, never far, just there, constant, patient. I remember talking, shouting names into the forest. Thompson, Keener, Walt, Eleanor, Thomas, Martha May, over and over. My voice is the only rope, the only thing keeping me from turning around. I remember the blood, so much blood. My coat was stiff with it. My glove was frozen to my rifle. Every step sent pain through my shoulder like someone driving nails. I remember thinking about Martha May, about the promise I'd made. "You better come home to me, Henry Blackwood," every single time. I couldn't break that promise. I couldn't. The whistle tried to sound like her voice, tried to call my name the way she did, soft, loving. "Henry, come back. I'm waiting." "That's not her," I said, screamed it. "That's not her." I kept moving. I made it out of the ravine around dusk, climbed back up to the ridge where I'd started. My legs were water, my vision was doubling. The cold was inside me now, in my bones, in my blood. I could see the brothers' camp in the distance, quarter mile, maybe less. The whistle was right behind me. I turned. It was there, 20 feet back, just standing, watching. The light was dying fast, but I could still see it. See the antlers against the sky, see the steam rising from its breath. It took a step forward. I raised the rifle. My arm shook so bad I could barely hold it. "Don't," I said. It took another step. I fired. The bullet went wide, hit a tree, bark exploded. The creature didn't flinch. I fired again, until the rifle clicked empty. The creature just stood there. I dropped the rifle, turned and ran. My legs gave out after 10 steps. I hit the snow face first, tried to get up, couldn't. My shoulder was screaming. My chest felt like someone was standing on it. I heard hoof steps behind me, slow, deliberate. I rolled onto my back, looked up. It stood over me. The antlers blocked out the sky. The whistle poured down. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The sound was inside my head, in my chest, replacing my heartbeat. I wanted to stand up, wanted to walk into those antlers. It would be so easy, so peaceful. Just one step, then another, then done. My hand moved to my chest, touched the pocket there. Martha May's photo. I pulled it out. The edges were frozen, stiff, but I could still see her face, her smile, her eyes. "I promised," I whispered. The creature lowered its head. The antler tips touched my chest, found the space between my ribs. "I promised," I said again, louder. I pressed the photo against my heart, thought about her laugh, about the way she said my name, about the life we were supposed to have, the house we talked about buying, the kid she wanted. 3, at least 3. "I'm coming home," I said. The pressure on my chest increased. The antler tip started to push through my coat. I grabbed the lantern, flared it one more time. Light exploded across the creature's face. It shrieked, jerked back. The antlers tore away from my chest. I scrambled backward, got my feet under me, stood. The creature thrashed. The whistle turned into a scream, and I ran. I don't know how I made it to the camp, don't know how my legs kept moving, but they did. I hit the fire pit, kicked the stones aside, found the brothers' kerosene can, half full. The creature was coming. I could hear it, could hear branches snapping, could hear the whistle building. I poured the kerosene in a circle around the camp. My hands were shaking, blood dripped from my glove, froze before it hit the snow. I pulled out my matches, struck one. It broke, struck another. It broke too. Third time, the flame caught. I dropped it. The kerosene went up. A wall of fire roared to life around the camp. The heat hit my face, stung my eyes, but it was beautiful. The creature stopped at the edge of the flames. The whistle changed, rose and fell, angry, frustrated. It paced, circled, tested the fire, but it wouldn't cross. I collapsed by the fire pit. My shoulder was a mess, blood everywhere. I tore open my first aid kit with my teeth, poured alcohol into the wound. The pain made me see stars. I packed it with gauze, wrapped it tight. It wouldn't hold long, but it was something. The creature circled all night. The whistle never stopped, but the fire held. When dawn came, gray and cold, the creature was gone. Just gone. The whistle faded, farther and farther, until I couldn't hear it anymore. I sat there for another hour, making sure it was really gone. Then I packed up, left Marcus and David where they were, marked it on my map, and I started the long walk home. I made it back to the station 3 days later, half dead, hypothermic. My shoulder was infected. The service sent me to the hospital in Durango. They cut the wound open again, cleaned it out, stitched me up proper. I was there for a week. Martha May sat by my bed the whole time, held my hand, didn't ask questions, just held my hand. When I could talk, I told her I'd found the brothers, told her they were dead, told her it was a bear, a big one, winter-starved, desperate. She knew I was lying. I could see it in her eyes, but she didn't push. The service sent a team out to recover the bodies. They found David. They found Marcus. They found the old hunter, too. They didn't find the bone clearing. I'd marked it on my map, but when they got there, it was gone. Just snow. Just trees. Nothing else. The official report said bear attack. That's what's on file. A bear explains blood. A bear explains missing men. A bear explains holes punched through chests. But a bear doesn't hollow its antlers into pipes. A bear doesn't whistle your name. A bear doesn't use dying men as instruments. I carry the scar on my shoulder. Perfect circle, the size of an antler tip. It aches when the weather turns cold. It aches every winter. And sometimes, when the wind blows through the trees just right, I hear it. The whistle. Faint, far away, but there. It's still out there, still waiting, still calling. And I know one day, maybe when I'm old and tired and ready, I'll hear my name again. But not yet. Not yet. Martha May is pregnant, found out last week. She told me over breakfast. Eggs and bacon and her smiling with tears in her eyes. We're having a baby. I promised her I'd come home every single time. And I did. So I'll keep writing, keep recording, keep telling the truth in these pages even when the service won't. Because the woods have rules. The woods have hunger. And someone needs to remember. Folklore note. The Ute people of the San Juan Mountains have stories about the pipe elk that go back centuries. They call it different names. Wohali Itoya, the hollow singer, the breathing antler. But the warning is always the same. It lives in the high country, in the places where winter presses down and sound gets swallowed. It's old, older than the mountains themselves, some say. Others say it was a medicine man once, a healer who made instruments from bone to call the spirits, but he got greedy, wanted to make the perfect sound, so he carved his own bones, hollowed his own antlers. And the spirits answered, but what came through wasn't what he'd called. It was something else, something hungry. Now it walks the mountains, looking for more instruments, more sounds. It doesn't kill to eat, it kills to play. The Ute have rules about the high country in winter. Don't travel alone. Don't follow beautiful sounds. Keep talking. Keep making noise. Your voice is your anchor. Your voice is what keeps you human. And if you hear the whistle, if you hear your name carried on that sound, you run. You don't look back. You don't try to understand. You run. Because the pipe elk doesn't chase. It calls. And if you listen too long, you'll walk right into its arms. There have been disappearances in the San Juan Mountains for as long as records have been kept. Hunters who don't come home, hikers who wander off trails, rangers who go out on patrol and never come back. The service calls them accidents, exposure, animal attacks, lost. But the Ute know better. The pipe elk is still out there, still singing, still waiting. And every winter, when the snow presses down and the silence gets heavy, it calls again. Most people don't answer. Most. That's enough for tonight. The pages are heavy. My hand is tired. The dead don't rest easy out here. Neither do I. When the woods go quiet, that's when I hear them loudest. Until the next entry. This is Henry Blackwood, and this was my journal. Well, boys and ghouls, that wraps up another terror-ific tale from the vault. Henry tried so hard, bless his heart, thought the badge would keep him safe, thought the woods were quieter than war. But some things whistle sweeter than any bullet, and some men carry scars that never stop singing just how we love it. If this story crawled under your skin the right way, hit that subscribe button. New creature features drop every day at 8 p.m. Central, and trust me, tomorrow's even nastier. Leave a like if you'll never look at elk the same way again, and drop a comment where are you watching from, what cryptid haunts your neck of the woods. Have you ever heard something whistle your name in the wilderness? I'm always hunting for the next nightmare. Remember, when the woods go quiet, something's listening. Until next time, kiddies, keep your fires burning and your eyes on the trees. This has been your Late Night Creature Feature. I'm Mr. Wendigo, and the land is always watching.